The baby's gone, Elvis. Our baby is gone. Priscilla's words hung in the sterile hospital air like a death sentence. October 3rd, 1968. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, Los Angeles. Elvis stood frozen in the doorway, still wearing his costume from the NBC comeback special rehearsal, black leather creaking as his body trembled. 20 minutes ago he was on top of the world, resurrecting his career. Now his wife lay bleeding in a hospital bed. Their second child, the son he'd already named Jesse Benjamin in honor of his twin, dead at 14 weeks. What happened in the next 72 hours would destroy their marriage, send Elvis into a pharmaceutical spiral he'd never escape, and create a secret so painful that Priscilla wouldn't speak of it publicly for 50 years. The official story was food poisoning. The truth was infinitely darker. But to understand why Priscilla Presley lost her baby that October night, we need to go back 3 days. September 30th, 1968. Elvis was in the middle of filming his comeback special, the show that would either resurrect or bury his career. The pressure was crushing. Colonel Parker had made it clear, this fails, you're done. No more movies, no more records. You'll be playing state fairs until you die. Elvis hadn't slept in 4 days, surviving on dexedrine and black coffee, his weight down to 165 pounds, the thinnest he'd been since the army. Priscilla was at Graceland, 14 weeks pregnant, trying to manage a household falling apart. Elvis hadn't been home in 3 weeks. When he called, he was either manic from the pills or crashed into depression. I can't fail, Scylla, he'd sob over the phone. If this special fails, I'm nothing, less than nothing. She tried to comfort him, but morning sickness and exhaustion made it hard. She hadn't told Elvis how bad it was, the bleeding that had started a week ago, the cramps that felt like contractions. Dr. Turman had put her on bed rest, but she couldn't rest. Not with Elvis calling every few hours, threatening to quit, to fire everyone, to kill himself if the special wasn't perfect. Have you ever loved someone so much that you ignored your own body screaming for help? That's where Priscilla was on October 1st when she made the decision that would haunt her forever. Elvis called at 2 a.m. crying, "I need you here, baby. I can't do this without you. Please, just for a day, I'm dying here." Against doctor's orders, against her own body's warnings, Priscilla got on a plane to Los Angeles. The flight was turbulence from takeoff to landing. Every bump sent pain shooting through her abdomen. By the time she landed, there was blood on the airplane seat. The stewardess, recognizing her, asked if she needed help. Priscilla smiled, that perfect smile she'd practiced in mirrors, and said she was fine, just excited to see her husband. She took a taxi to NBC Studios in Burbank, stopping twice to vomit on the side of the road. The driver kept looking at her in the rearview mirror, this beautiful woman in a pink dress slowly dying in his back seat, pretending everything was perfect. When she arrived at NBC, Elvis was in the middle of performing If I Can Dream. He looked magnificent, black leather suit, hair perfect, voice powerful. The old Elvis, the dangerous Elvis, the Elvis she'd fallen in love with. He saw her in the wings and lit up, his performance becoming electric. The director would later say it was Elvis's best take. He didn't know it was powered by a dying woman's presence. After the performance, Elvis rushed to Priscilla, lifting her, spinning her. She felt something tear inside her, warm liquid running down her legs, but she kept smiling. "You were amazing," she whispered. "I'm so proud of you." He was too high on adrenaline and dexedrine to notice she was pale, sweating, trembling. The Memphis Mafia noticed. Red West pulled Joe Esposito aside. Something's wrong with Priscilla, but nobody wanted to interrupt Elvis's moment. He was happy, finally happy. Let him have this. The rehearsal continued for 3 more hours. Priscilla sat in a chair, her hands pressed to her abdomen, feeling their child dying inside her. She could feel each cramp, each wave of pain, each moment of loss. But she kept smiling, kept applauding, kept being the perfect wife Elvis needed her to be. When he sang Love Me Tender, looking directly at her, she mouthed I love you back, tasting blood in her mouth from biting her tongue to keep from screaming. At 11 p.m., Elvis finally noticed. Priscilla had stood up to congratulate him, and the blood was visible through her pink dress. Not a lot, just a spreading stain that looked like spilled wine in the stage lights. "Scylla?" His voice changed from triumph to terror in a single syllable. She tried to answer but collapsed instead, her body finally overruling her will. The last thing she heard before losing consciousness was Elvis screaming her name. The ambulance ride was a nightmare. Priscilla was in and out of consciousness, apologizing. "I'm sorry, the baby, I'm losing the baby." Elvis held her hand, his black leather now stained with her blood. "It's okay, baby, you're gonna be fine, the baby's gonna be fine." But he knew, the paramedic's face told him everything. This wasn't a minor complication, this was a miscarriage, and a bad one. At Cedars-Sinai, Dr. Marcus Goldberg took one look and rushed Priscilla into surgery. The baby was already gone, had been for hours, maybe days. Now it was about saving Priscilla. She was hemorrhaging, her blood pressure dropping, her body going into shock. Elvis wasn't allowed in the operating room. He stood in the hallway, still in his comeback leather, blood on his hands, pills in his pocket, praying to a God he wasn't sure listened anymore. The surgery took 4 hours. 4 hours of Elvis pacing, popping pills, making bargains with the universe. "Take my voice," he whispered to the fluorescent lights. "Take my career, take everything. Just save her." The Memphis Mafia gathered, silent, useless. Colonel Parker showed up, more concerned about headlines than health. "We need to control this story." Elvis almost hit him, would have if Red hadn't held him back. At 3:17 a.m., Dr. Goldberg emerged. Priscilla would live. The baby was gone, a boy too underdeveloped to survive even if he'd been born alive. Elvis asked to see him. The doctor advised against it. Elvis insisted. What he saw in that small hospital basin would never leave him. His son, tiny, perfect, dead. Jesse Benjamin Presley, named for the twin Elvis, had survived, now dead like his namesake. The circle of death complete. When Priscilla woke up, the first thing she said was, "The baby's gone, Elvis. Our baby is gone." He held her while she sobbed, his own tears silent. She kept apologizing, for coming to LA, for not staying in bed, for losing their son. Elvis said all the right things. It wasn't her fault. These things happen. They'd try again. But inside, a terrible thought was growing. This was punishment, for the pills, for the women, for every sin he'd committed. God had taken his son as payment. But the worst was yet to come. The doctor pulled Elvis aside with devastating news. The hemorrhaging was severe. There's damage, significant scarring. Another pregnancy would be inadvisable, potentially fatal. Elvis had to tell Priscilla she'd never have another child, that Lisa Marie would be their only baby, that the son they dreamed of was gone forever, taking all future children with him. Have you ever had to destroy someone you love with the truth? That's what Elvis faced walking back into that hospital room. He couldn't do it, couldn't tell her. Instead, he lied. "Doctor says you'll be fine. We can try again when you're healed." Priscilla's eyes lit up through the grief. "Really? We can have another baby?" Elvis nodded, the lie burning his throat like acid. "As many as you want, baby, a whole house full." It was the kindest cruelty he'd ever committed. The official story was crafted that night. Priscilla had food poisoning from bad seafood. She was hospitalized for exhaustion and dehydration. Nothing about the pregnancy. Nothing about the miscarriage. Nothing about the baby boy in the hospital morgue. The staff was paid for silence. The records were sealed. Even the Memphis Mafia was sworn to secrecy. As far as the world knew, Priscilla had the flu. They buried Jesse Benjamin in a private ceremony at Forest Lawn Cemetery. No announcement, no obituary, just Elvis, Priscilla, and a tiny white coffin that looked like a jewelry box. The headstone read simply, "Baby Presley, October 3rd, 1968. Heaven's smallest angel." Elvis sang "You'll Never Walk Alone" a cappella, his voice breaking on every note. Priscilla couldn't stop crying, couldn't stop apologizing, couldn't stop bleeding inside where nobody could see. The ride home was silent. Elvis was calculating how many pills it would take to join his son. Priscilla was planning how soon they could try again, not knowing it was impossible. They were sitting side by side, holding hands, completely alone in their grief. That night, for the first time in their marriage, they slept in separate rooms. Elvis couldn't look at Priscilla without seeing their dead son. Priscilla couldn't look at Elvis without feeling like she'd failed him. The NBC comeback special aired December 3rd, 1968. It was a massive success, resurrecting Elvis's career exactly as planned. But watch it carefully. In If I Can Dream, when Elvis sings about hope, his eyes are dead. He's not singing about dreams. He's singing to a baby who'll never dream. The black leather outfit he wore, he burned it after the special, said it was bad luck. Really, it still smelled like Priscilla's blood. The marriage never recovered. Elvis doubled his pill intake, trying to forget October 3rd. Priscilla threw herself into mothering Lisa Marie, overcompensating for the child she'd lost. They tried to pretend, to play the perfect couple, but the ghost of Jesse Benjamin was always between them. Every time Elvis looked at Lisa Marie, he saw the brother she'd never have. Every time Priscilla saw a pregnant woman, she felt her empty womb mock her. Elvis started his affairs in earnest after the miscarriage, not for pleasure but for punishment. Each woman was a betrayal of Priscilla, a way to hurt her for losing their son, even though he knew it wasn't her fault. Priscilla knew about the affairs, didn't care. How could he hurt her worse than she'd already hurt herself? She'd killed their baby by getting on that plane. No affair could compare to that guilt. The secret ate at them. Elvis would sometimes call Priscilla's name in his sleep. "Save the baby, Scylla. Please save the baby." Priscilla would lock herself in the bathroom on October 3rd every year, sobbing so hard she'd vomit. Lisa Marie grew up thinking her parents just grew apart. She never knew she'd had a brother who died before birth, taking her parents' marriage with him. In 1973, when Priscilla finally asked for a divorce, Elvis said something that revealed he'd never forgiven her or himself. "We've been divorced since October 3rd, 1968. We just didn't file the papers." Priscilla nodded. She knew exactly what he meant. Their marriage had bled out in that hospital room, just like their son. Years later, Priscilla would reveal the truth in a private interview, never published until after Elvis's death. "The miscarriage destroyed us, not just losing the baby, but how we lost him. I chose Elvis's career over our child's life. He chose to lie to me about never being able to have more children. We were both guilty, both grieving, both unable to forgive ourselves or each other. Jesse Benjamin took our future with him." The most heartbreaking detail came from the hospital records, unsealed in 2018, the final entry from Dr. Goldberg. Patient's husband requested to hold the deceased infant, held child for approximately 1 hour, singing softly. When asked to release the body for burial preparation, responded, "Just 5 more minutes. I never got to hold Jesse Garan. Let me hold this Jesse a little longer." Security called to assist in removing infant from father's arms. Elvis would visit the grave secretly, always alone, always at night. The groundskeeper reported finding pills at the headstone, not taken, just left there. "Like he was sharing them with someone," the groundskeeper said. One note was found, weather damaged but readable. "Jesse Benjamin, your mama and I are sorry. We loved you to death. Literally, forgive us." The baby's room at Graceland was never dismantled. Priscilla had decorated it in blue, with clouds on the ceiling and angels on the walls. Elvis would sometimes sleep there when the pills weren't working, curled up in the crib that would never hold his son. The staff was instructed never to enter, never to clean. It remained frozen in time, waiting for a baby who'd never come home. When Elvis died in 1977, Priscilla made a request that shocked everyone. She wanted Jesse Benjamin's coffin moved to Graceland, buried next to Elvis. "They should be together," she said, "father and son, the way it should have been." But the cemetery had no record of the grave. The plot was there, but empty. Jesse Benjamin's body had vanished. Nobody knew when or how or why. Another secret in a family full of them. Some say Elvis had the baby's body moved years earlier, buried somewhere only he knew. Others think the hospital made an error, that there never was a body to bury. But Priscilla knows the truth, though she's never spoken it publicly. Elvis had his son cremated secretly and kept the ashes in a silver box in his closet. When Elvis was buried, the box was with him, tucked inside his jacket, over his heart. Father and son, together at last. The NBC comeback special is remembered as Elvis's resurrection. But for those who knew the truth, it was also a funeral. The death of Elvis and Priscilla's marriage. The death of their dreams for a large family. The death of Jesse Benjamin Presley, the boy who lived for 14 weeks in his mother's womb and forever in his father's guilt. Have you ever wondered why Elvis seemed so broken in his final years, despite his success? Now you know, he wasn't just carrying his own pain, he was carrying the weight of a child who never breathed, a lie he couldn't take back, and a wife he couldn't save. Every pill was an apology to Jesse Benjamin, every woman was a betrayal of Priscilla, every performance was powered by the grief of October 3rd, 1968. The baby named for Elvis's dead twin became another ghost in a life already haunted. Jesse Garan and Jesse Benjamin, the brothers Elvis never got to raise, the sons who existed only in death and memory. Two ghosts bookending a life that looked blessed from the outside, but was cursed from within. The king had everything except the one thing he wanted most, a son to carry on his name, his legacy, his redemption. Instead, he carried their deaths with him. 2 Jesses, 2 failures, too much for one man to bear, no matter how many pills he took to forget.